Okay, I now convene the April 23rd, 24th, 2025 meeting of the work group to review the design and implementation of the teacher performance assessments. The Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act for teleconference meetings requires that groups members who are attending the meeting via teleconference to disclose if any other individuals 18 years of age or older are present in the room at the remote location, and the general nature of the member's relationship with any such individuals. Are there any disclosures for members attending via Zoom?
No disclosures for me.
Talia?
No disclosures from me.
Thank you.
No disclosures. No disclosures.
Thank you so much. Work group members who are participating via Zoom must be visible at all times on camera. Please log off Zoom if you need to leave the meeting and log in when you're ready to join the meeting. If you experience broadband or internet connectivity problems while participating in the meeting that would be remedied by joining without video, you must announce the reason for your non-appearance when you turn off your camera. We will now take roll call. Recording secretary, will you please call the roll?
Evan Beasley,
Here.
Alyssa Brown. Here. Joe Camarello. Nancy Croatia. Paula Diaz-Catano.
Here.
Randupo. Vanessa Escobar. Here. Estrada Revelas.
Here.
Harvey.
Here.
Here.
Alicia Herrera. Linda Hunt. Here. Jason Morgan.
Here.
Joshua Norton.
Here.
Benjamin Odell.
Here.
Mandy Redford. Kathleen Rowley. Here. Rebecca Sackett.
Here.
Ian Slow.
Here.
Tina Sullivan. Here. Matt Wallace.
Here.
Beverly Young. Here. We have a quorum.
Wonderful, thank you. And on that note, Beverly, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
If you are so inclined, please stand. Again,
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I would like to remind everyone about the meeting procedures before we get to today's agenda. We have work group members participating from the commission building and also via Zoom. The public has the option to attend the work group meeting at the commission office or to participate remotely through Zoom webcast or a US toll-free phone number. Microphones. Again, a reminder that the meeting room technology includes built-in microphones, speakers, cameras, and monitors. Please note that the ceiling microphones are always on and will be anything that is said at all times. So please be aware that anything that is said in this room will be captured on the archived recording of the meeting. Therefore, side conversations should be kept to a minimum, if at all, in this room. Commenting or asking questions, work group members attending the meeting via Zoom that would like to speak, please use the raise hand feature in Zoom. Because this is a hybrid meeting, we will need to conduct vote by roll call. We would like to ask the members of the public who attend the meeting via Zoom and would like to make public comment to check their Zoom identification. Your Zoom identification is the name used when you log the meeting. It is important that the Zoom identification is accurate, call on you appropriately during public comment. Regarding public comments, we will cover the public comment procedure. The co-chair will announce when the public comment period is open during the presentation of the agenda item and ask for anyone who wishes to comment to notify the meeting moderator. Individuals who attend the meeting at the commission office will need to submit a request to address the work group card to the meeting moderator. The meeting moderator will notify the individual when it's their turn to speak. At that time, the individual will be able to approach the table and share their comments. Individuals who join the meeting via the Zoom webcast will need to click on the raised hand icon to inform the meeting moderator that they would like to speak on the item. The moderator will notify the individual when it is their turn to speak by calling their Zoom ID. At that time, the individual will be prompted to unmute their microphone, will be able to share their comment. The Zoom ID name used by the member of the public to join the Zoom meeting will be displayed to the public when the individual provides public comment. Individuals who join the meeting through this toll-free number will need to press *9 on their phone to inform the meeting moderator that they would like to speak on the item. The moderator will notify the individual it is their turn to speak by calling their phone number and will allow them to unmute their telephone. At that time, the individual will be prompted to press *6 and will be able to share their comment. Please note only a partial phone number will be displayed to the public when the individual provides public comment. Public comment is limited to 2 minutes per speaker to speak on a particular agenda item. Ask that you keep your remarks brief and focused on the particular item you are speaking to. Recording. Please note this meeting is being recorded. After the meeting, the archived audio and video will be available via the Commission's website. With that, we are now ready to move on to item 1A, approval of the March 2025 RDI TPA Workgroup meeting minutes. So take a moment to review those minutes, please. We will now open for public comment. Public comment is limited to 2 minutes per speaker. Recording secretary, are there any public comments? Thank you. The public comment period for this item is now closed. Do I have a motion to approve the March 2025 RDI TPA Workgroup minutes? Essa, we need a second as well. Devin, any discussion? All right, will the recording secretary please call for the vote?
Devin.
Aye.
Alyssa Brown. Chuck Cameron. Cassie Preacher.
Aye.
Talia Diaz-Catana.
Aye.
Vanessa Escobar.
Hi.
Hustler Estrada Revelos.
Aye.
Corey Harvey.
Aye.
Colin Haseman.
Aye.
Linda Hung. Aye. Jason Morgan.
Aye.
Joshua Norton.
Aye.
Benjamin Odell.
Aye.
Catherine Rowley. Aye. Rebecca Sackett.
Aye.
Slow.
Aye.
Sheena Sullivan.
Aye.
Matt Wallace.
Aye.
Beverly Young.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And now we will move on to item 2A regarding the general session. This is an information/action item. Are there any updates from our commission liaisons and staff?
I don't believe we have a commission liaison present yet. And so on behalf of all of the above, I will just say, how quickly this has gone. And how wonderful it has been to work with all of you as you started from deep in your practice and brought all that to the table to look at some really important questions about how we prepare and license the teaching and workforce. And I'm really excited about having these last 2 days with you to see how you bring it together before we bring it back to the commission in June. So thank you again, all of you, for making the time to do this and putting so much thought into it and engaging with one another from differing points of view and from common points of view to really scrub these issues. Really, this has been a very good effort, and I'm really pleased to welcome you today on behalf of the commissioners and myself.
Anything, Julia?
Yeah, I'll just say welcome. Just really excited to be here with you all. I'm excited about the work that we have before us these next 2 days. I do think we have our work cut out for us. We have a huge number of recommendations, but I'm feeling really hopeful about our time together, that we'll be able to kind of really do some consolidating, refining, honing in on those key ideas that we can take forward to the commission. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for putting up with all the emails and all your thoughtful work.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to take a moment to say the community is listening to us. I mean, I have just over the course of the past week, I have various directors who are operating different programs, and the leader of the PK3 program came to me and said, "Oh my gosh, the interim actions are well in place," she said. Just met with Juliet and in our small learning community, and she presented X, Y, and Z. And so I'm very excited to be here alongside with you as we make these decisions at this critical moment in time. Thank you for your dedication, and let's bring it on home today. And on that note, it is time for item 3A. Oh, yes. Sure, give me a second. All right, so just for the sake of reading these out loud so that we can be mindful of practicing them as we bring this on home today, who would like to read the first norm for us, please? Thank you, Devin.
Be present, be on time, and participate. Take care of self as needed. Will take regular breaks. Please refrain from checking email and doing other tasks.
Thank you. Next item. Thank you, Vanessa.
We can receive warm and full feedback respectfully. We critique work and not people. Critical analysis is part of the curriculum.
Excellent. Next one.
Your truth and seek understanding of truths that differ from yours. Embrace different perspectives. Assume positive and take responsibility for impact.
Excellent. And the next one.
Notice power dynamics. Power shows up in many different ways. Be aware of how you might be unconsciously using your privilege to help.
Thank you. And the last one.
Step up, step back, be mindful of taking too much or too little space.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And do you feel that these norms will get us where we need to be today, or do we need to add anything to these? All right.
Yes, sure.
Go right ahead.
So when we go into our little breakout groups, and then we come back and we sit together as a group and we go through things. And I know our norm has been, we'll talk about it, we'll ask questions, but at some point we just say, let's move it to, a different place. Let's talk about it later. This is our last meeting. And so there's no later. Are we going to figure that out? And then the other thing is there has been times, and I'm not pointing at fingers at anybody, but it gets kind of heated, with discussions going back and forth and taking more time and more space than it should, just because we do have a time limitation and plane flights to catch. Are we addressing that? Sorry.
Well, I would say we're asking people to be thoughtful about what the degree to which you're taking up space. So, I understand that we're all knowledgeable and passionate individuals, but it is important that we not, lack of a better term, beat a dead horse, right? You got to be willing to let it go if the group is not with you. I don't know if you'd like to add anything to that.
I don't know that I have anything specific to say other than, yes, this is our last opportunity. And so if there are things that you like are unresolved, this is the time to bring them up. And we do need to then discuss those as a group. But what goes forward has to be the will of the whole group. It can't.
And so I'm wondering if we could maybe just kind of moderate ourselves. And if we see that it starts to get out of hand, then maybe what we'll do is we'll pause, we'll come together, and we'll create an additional norm, like maybe a time limit for people to feel that they have time to advocate. There'll be a limit to the amount of time, something like that. But I don't want to impose that at the front end and assume that there's going to be a problem. Let's just see if that problem should rear its head, and if it does, we'll deal with it. Does that sound okay?
No, it does, but I'm coming from a teacher perspective when, when discussions get a little heated in a classroom, as the teacher, you're like, okay, that's a dead horse, you need to stop. But is there a teacher in here who wants to do that?
Well, I'm happy to take on that responsibility if you'd like me to, but only if it is the will of the group. So if you'd like me to take responsibility for moderating that, I'd be more than happy. Some feedback or thoughts on that? I see some head nodding, but
May I also offer up a fist to 5 protocol, might be supportive and helpful.
just to check with the group. Yep.
What would do with the 3 or 4? What do we, how far do you agree with that statement?
Excellent. Okay. Thank you very much.
I think you've got to, Juliet and I were talking earlier about the process for today, which is to go from soup to nuts through everything in small groups. And I think you'll have 3 rounds of that. And you will self-select yourself into the group thematically that you're working on. But it's not the case that a small group's word is the last word, right? You're gonna workshop something, and then everyone is gonna have an opportunity for some silent, sustained review and commentary that they can. So I think there's a process baked in here that will make sure that everybody's voice is heard on every recommendation, and that you grapple with that as a whole group. And I love this idea of, how many of you are at an absolute 5? This is a great thing, we have to do it. How many of you are at a 1? I could never accept it, and take to get you to a 2 or 3 where you can say this is, some kind of gradation here. Get all of your voices and perspectives reflected, I think, is really a good goal. And sometimes it does get heated, and I think that's about the passion that each of us bring to this work. And I think that's a value to the work. We could all be bureaucrats. Trust me, that wouldn't be anywhere near as interesting, because this is really about humans. It's really about humans, the children that we serve, the adults that get licensed to go and serve them, and how we make sure they're ready, the state agency, a standards board, to do that. Because of passion. But self-moderation also is also a good thing.
And any other comments or thoughts? Right, then it is.
Either just remind you something. Just a reminder of our charge, which I feel like that kind of would set us up nicely for that. The charge was that the commission directs staff to convene an expert panel work group to evaluate the design and implementation of the state's current teaching performance assessments. The objective is to ensure that these assessments are valid, authentic, formative in nature, embedded in preparation, and contribute to program improvement through the accreditation system. Probably can all say that by memory by this point, but just wanted to bring it up as a reminder. And then a reminder of the different focus areas. We won't read all of these as we have lived them. But also just a reminder of where we have been and where we are. We are at that final meeting, 8, to finalize those recommendations. Welcome. So that we have those ready for the commission. And again, this is our goal. By the end of tomorrow, we will have all those check marks in that final column. Yes, yes. So with that, sorry for interrupting you.
No worries, no worries. Thank you for the reminder. It is now time for public comments. Are there any public comments? No public comment. Wonderful. The public comment period for this item is now closed. All right. And
Madam Chair, two other quick things. Adam Ibrahim got his calendar a little crosswise, so he's going to be joining us a little late after 2 meetings. And Commissioner Anna Marie Francois from UCLA is here today as our commission. She here.
awesome. Did you have any comments to add?
I didn't prepare any comments, but first and foremost, I want to thank you all for your patience in having our liaison, well, with the exception of Jeanette, who is very consistent. But I think the rest of us who have been able to kind of cycle back in have learned a lot about how challenging this process is, and having multiple constituents around the table thinking about the things that maybe in our day-to-day real work we don't think about has really impacted us both in our own professional lives, but how we come back to the community. These things. So I always want to thank y'all for this extraordinary active, I'm going to say, volunteerism and good trouble to make the conditions of teaching and learning better for kids and better for the educators that serve them. Last month, was it last month or this month, the commission meeting?
It was 2 weeks.
Recently, right?
Just 2 weeks ago.
We were very encouraged by the update and the progress of the work group. I have to say, as I was reading the agenda item in preparation for the last meeting, I was a bit overwhelmed with the number of and as I looked at them very carefully, I was just so encouraged and confident that y'all are thinking about the right things and you're thinking about all the things. So again, it's hard work. It's important work. Thank you for your service. And thanks for giving me the opportunity to listen in and to learn with you. I think by doing that, I can better serve you all, as well as as well as the field when I sit around the commission table. And I think I speak for all of the commissioners when I say that. So thank you so much. And somebody told me the meeting started at 1:30, so I apologize.
That Adam, no, just kidding.
He's not here. Wade's not, right?
And so now it is time to move on to item 3A, and I'm calling up now is Mandy Red.
Hi, everyone. All right, item 3A is the review of the commission feedback and interim actions. As she mentioned, we took all the things, right? And we received feedback on everything so that will help today for us to streamline and focus our recommendations. So with that, do you have a presentation for us?
I do.
Thank you.
I feel like Commissioner Francois set us up very nicely for this. First off, in your binders, you do have a copy of agenda item 3C from the commission meeting. Was less than 2 weeks ago. And it just lays out the draft recommendations. And so as you know, if you've been in those spaces, then the commissioners had the opportunity to provide feedback and there was discussion on the items. So learning from our conversations about AI in the work group, what I did is I took the transcript from that discussion and I put it into ChatGPT and I asked it to pull out the themes and supporting evidence. So that's what you have. And it pulled quotes from different commissioners. And there's a document that has, it's handout 2 under item 3A that has a little bit more information. But theme 1 was the emphasis on shared accountability and equity. I don't know if maybe if you want to take a little bit of time to read through these on your own so that I'm not reading them to you, but the big themes, emphasis on shared accountability and equity, strategic use of AI for efficiency and support, alignment with the broader educational frameworks, need to ensure that we're aligned, need for systemic and structural change, the need for us to, or for the work group to really think about prioritization and practicality in implementation of the recommendations. Some concerns about the scope and feasibility. And then again, the strong appreciation for the work group and the public engagement. Oh, and then, well, I'll give you a moment just to look through those. Did flip through the slides quickly, but all of that information is in the handout as well, which is in your papers. And in that handout, there is the full transcript as well, if you want to review that. And just some additional feedback, questions that we received. Things to consider as we go into this final space together. What is the work vision of an ideal TPA that is valid and authentic, feasible to implement, appropriate and embedded? How do the recommendations help us to get to that? A reminder to consider the cost of each recommendation. Each new demand requires human labor, which includes cost. Too often those costs then get passed on to candidates. Be mindful of that. And then as we're thinking about requirements to programs, question that we consider demands versus encouragements. Programs respond more favorably to encouragements often. And then also the question of then how will demands be enforced?
Sure. Before we do, I wanted to also share being in that space and listening to their recommendations. Those three things that we talked about a lot at our last meeting, which was streamlining, actionable, and focused, came up multiple times. But then also that idea of prioritization kept coming up by multiple commissioners too, which was something we hadn't really considered before. And so I just wanted to bring that kind of to your attention that maybe that's something that we do today as well and add that to our thinking.
That's built into the end of tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I guess
so
explaining why we added that into the agenda kind of came out of that commission meeting. And Juliet did an amazing presentation. Great.
A question on the last bit. I'm confused as to what the intent of that is. Consider demands versus encouragement.
I think I should have put that the opposite direction. Encouragements versus demands. What happened if we can think about how to encourage programs to do things versus demanding that they do things?
I think that was the tone that was coming into some of our work, was requiring people to do it and through compulsion rather than any other process. Okay.
Sorry, is that along the same lines of things that are mandatory versus optional?
Yeah. So
okay, because I guess some of us in the group intentionally wrote mandatory because part of the issue that when we looked at the language was that it was very optional.
I was going to second that and say basically, we kind of got into this spot because things were not actually firmed up. And so I do think that it's important that we keep, be mindful of that and that these recommendations do have some teeth to them, because otherwise we're going to end up right back in this spot again.
Nessa?
Something that, like an example that you were thinking of, should be encouraged than demanded, or similarly
we were really specific about putting specific language for equity and accountability. So is there anything within the recommendations that we should be promoting as something we should change language in? Just as we're moving forward.
No, I was here at the table while the commission was having this conversation, and I think that I don't believe the commission is asking you to temper your recommendations. I think that they may be thinking out loud about the impact of these recommendations. I mean, this performance assessments have kind of settled into a level of operation that is functional, but not optimal. I think we would all agree with that. And the functionality, everybody's kind of adjusted. All the systems have adjusted to what is functionally happening, but nobody's really thrilled about it. For any number of reasons, and every different type of group has a different set of reasons about that. So when we talk about change, to move from functional, basically functional, to optimal, I suspect that there are going to be folks all throughout our systems in the state that are saying, whoa, that might be optimal, but you're going to require that of us. And then what? Then what? What are we, how am I going to have to change what I'm doing in order to accommodate this? I think that's what was surfacing, was the beginning of, wow, we can see some vision in this big set of recommendations that have the strong potential to improve what we're doing. And then we're going to have to decide to do it. And that group of people was in this room 2 weeks ago. They'll be receiving your recommendations. And one of the other things that Juliet and team have been working on is kind of the feasibility questions and issues about the recommendations. Where does change occur? If this is what you're recommending, where and how does change occur? Some really important questions, but I really would like to encourage you not to temper, per se, what you're doing, so that we can continue to be functional. I think your goal, your job is to work on what's optimal for candidates, for accountability within educator preparation, where what they're accountable for is preparing people to be ready to begin practice. They have to do that. There's no other point, right? So if we're going to take this seriously, and I think all of you have, and I think the commission has as well, what does the commission need to think about and bring in? They will figure out how to implement what needs to be implemented. That's the next task, but your task is, that's my view.
Yeah. Ben, did you have something?
She addressed some of it. I was going to ask about feasibility. I know we've been asking a little bit about like, hey, how feasible are some of these? Because we have our own kind of lenses, and I heard it come up in the commission meeting a couple of weeks ago, where they weren't talking feasibility, they were talking about the unintended consequences of what happens if certain things roll out. So for instance, with interim changes, I'm not sure if there were unintended consequences, but there are things that I saw that I've seen in notification that kind of made an impact on me recently, right? So I'm not sure. I just want to make sure that we're mindful of those unintended consequences and have that like state feasibility, because we each have our lenses, but we may not see things at a high balcony level. And then, yeah, I think that's it for now. I'm gonna stop talking.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you. Go ahead, Beverly.
Forgive me if you said this and I missed it, or maybe this is another way of saying it. But as I read these comments, it seemed like there was more than one request that we prioritize. And I'm just wondering, is that going to be part of our task today or tomorrow? Is
Tomorrow.
Okay.
Once we get the narrowed down smaller set of recommendations, then our final task will be to prioritize. Make sure that do now, which are this is a great idea, but it's not priority.
Thank you.
All right, so we will now open for public comment on item 3A. Are there any public comments?
We do not have any public comment.
All right, item 4A. So the next item is 4A, review current progress on interim actions. This is an information item.
We do. So as you know, at the February commission meeting, in addition to sharing the early stage recommendations, what they were called at that point, we also took to the commission a set of interim actions based on the work of the work group. And the commissioners chose to adopt those interim actions, and we have jumped into action to get implementing them. So just wanted to give you an update on the progress. You do have some handouts in your binders as well that are the results of those. So a reminder of what the interim actions are. This is the full list, but I'll talk through them as we talk about the actions that have been taken. And highlight, Kristen has joined us up here because she's going to speak on a couple of these that she's been taking the lead on. So the first one was to update the TPAs as necessary to eliminate the use of content-based conditioning. So for the Cal TPA, the performance assessment team jumped into action right away. And we worked to revise the condition codes to really just focus on technical issues. Assessors have now been directed to really score what is submitted, and rubrics are being revised for the 25-26 versions. For the Ed TPA, the condition codes were reviewed, really found that most of those were technical in nature. The past does not utilize condition codes. Interim action 2 was to redirect candidate submissions with technical condition codes back to the candidates so they can resolve identified technical issues and resubmit at no additional cost. For Cal TPA and Ed TPA, both have now implemented a voucher system for candidates who receive A2, which is the most commonly issued technical condition code. This is when a candidate submits to the wrong credential area. Or, so voucher systems for those candidates and also for candidates who have taken the TPA 2 or more times and their most recent submission has a condition code. So all of those candidates will receive vouchers so they can resubmit at no additional cost. The only challenge in there is that no mechanism is currently in place to easily notify candidates once a submission has been marked to receive a condition code. So that means they have to wait till the score reports come out and wait for the next submission window before they can resubmit. So time does lapse, and we know that time is very valuable when you're trying to get your credential to get to a classroom. So still working on that piece. Also, condition codes are no longer issued for video edits. Handout 3A3 is a copy of the notification that has been sent to Cal TPA coordinators and programs regarding video edits and condition codes. Didn't include it in here, but there's a similar notification going to Ed TPA programs regarding video edits. So. Interim action 3 has to do with updating the guidelines for acceptable support to clarify that direct ongoing feedback from faculty, supervisors, and mentor teachers aimed at improving candidate responses and addressing technical issues leading to condition codes are important, acceptable, and encouraged for support. So we did work on a program sponsor alert that was issued that clarifies what acceptable support looks like in practice. I know just in the process of working on this and reaching out to people I knew in the field, it just became so apparent all of the misconceptions there are out there around acceptable support. So that PSA is also in your binder, so you can take a look at it. I won't promise that it goes all the way so that everything is absolutely clear to people, but I'm hoping it takes a step in the right direction. We are still hoping to do some webinars for support providers. And in fact, for Cal TPA, there have been some digging deeper sessions around what acceptable support looks like. Ideally, we'll get to doing some videos for candidates and then also reviews and possible revisions to Cal TPA, Ed TPA, and FAST acceptable support levels. And then interim action.
Vanessa has a.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I just wanted to compliment whoever sent out that PSA because it was really helpful for myself and our IHE and everyone that works with. So thank you for sending that out as quickly as possible.
Glad to hear that. So that's great news. Interim action 4, to standardize the commission system for collecting and reporting TPA outcome data. Establish clear metrics to inform policy decisions and support improvements in preparation programs. And I get to kick it over to Kristen.
The Office of Policy and Improvement convened a data team to do just that. And we now meet regularly with the performance assessment team as well. So if you are connected to an ed prep program, you know that there would be different reporting popping up in different places, from results analyzer right from Pearson to the accreditation data system, the accreditation data dashboard. The annual report you may have seen that comes as a commission item later in the year, and then also Title II, which Title II doesn't show all candidates that submit, so that can be a little misleading. So we wanted to really take that on and make sure that we can standardize reporting in a way that's easy to understand, and also in a way that really helps illuminate the candidate experience, some of the things that have really come up from public feedback about the TPA process and things in this work group. So the condition code prevalence and the distribution of those, even though thankfully we're already addressing that in real time now, we can kind of look back at those 5 years and see patterns in our reporting, and then help see that go down over time. The average length of time for candidates to pass, the average number of attempts for candidates to pass, those are things that don't show up if you just look at eventual pass rates of everyone who took both cycles of the Cal TPA, for instance. So kind of helping illuminate some of the candidate struggles along the way and making sure that programs know how to support and prepare their candidates. The number of candidates within the secondary passing standard, and the number of candidates who start the TPA but never finish. That also hasn't really been illuminated in data before. So those are some of our focus areas. Right now, program leaders and our accreditation team, as has always been the case with our accreditation data system, will be able to share full view of their institution or program's data. If you're connected to an EP and you've never seen your accreditation data dashboard, talk to Dean or the equivalent leader who gives access for it. There's lots of good stuff in there. So TPA is not yet live. You know, we've had it for several years in the past. We took it down to revamp this work. It will be coming up in the next few months. But you'll have a shared system so you can see everything that the accreditation team sees for your institution as well.
Interim action 5, this was to ensure a system of notification is in place for candidates that fall within the secondary passing standard that includes simultaneous notification to the preparation program and clear information for candidates and programs regarding the process for demonstrating readiness by alternate means. So we created a revised notification that is now being sent to candidates with a CC to their programs that details the specific guidelines of actions candidates can take when they fall within the secondary passing standard, really just trying to lay it out for them. We have a notification for programs that's currently being drafted. I really was hoping to be able to have it finalized here for you today, but didn't get to that yesterday. But it's reminding programs of their requirement to evaluate evidence from candidates who fall within that secondary passing standard to determine if they have met whatever TPEs they were did not meet with the TPA. Reminder of their responsibility to do that, a clarification of the process of what that looks like and what it looks like to then recommend those candidates. So that should be ready to, once we finalize it, then we'll share it with evaluation systems so that it will be released to programs when their candidates fall within that secondary passing standard. So, all right, and the last interim action is to issue a notification to all programs identifying their TPA first-time pass rates based on both scorable and non-scorable submissions, and provide evidence-based recommendations for strengthening candidate supports and guidance to reduce and eliminate candidate condition codes.
One is going to be pretty straightforward, basically following that exact instruction. It's going to fall later than us finalizing how we are calculating all that TPA data, which is in process right now. Always want to say thank you to my colleague Fifi Lau, who's doing a lot of the infrastructure for that. And then also for interim actions 1 and 2 about condition codes, we want to make sure all of that is finalized before we send out any notification and best practices for moving forward.
So those are the interim actions. I mean, I have number 7. No, number 7 is just that we're supposed to report on the progress, which we're doing. But I really want to point this back to all of you because these interim actions came about because of the work of the work group. And so just highlights that the work you're all doing is having an impact.
I have to say, I'm thrilled that we're no longer charging candidates to retake a component, that they're getting vouchers. That I think.
Again, I just want to clarify. So the interim actions, as you said, are based on things that we've talked about and are things that didn't need formal commission action to enact.
The commission took action to
Okay,
adopt
but
the interim action.
it didn't need us to make formal recommendations about them. And so when we look at our final recommendations, we should consider what has already happened here because some things have already been done without our formal recommendations.
A great point. Thank you. Any other comments? All right, Vanessa, go ahead.
I'm just proud of all of those things. It's like a really good benefit for everyone, all of the candidates and all of these interim actions. And good job, everyone. Like these are really good.
Let's get the rest going.
Yeah, no, but it's a really great start. So good job, everyone. Proud of us.
Go ahead.
So I have one question, just so I perfectly understand. People are entitled to vouchers if they get a particular condition code, or if they fail twice.
Yep.
So we're not universally vouchering. It's A2.
It's A2.
Or 2 fail.
And I don't have the numbers, but so many of the candidates that received condition codes fell within that A2. We really looked at like, what's the biggest area? What can we do to help the greatest number?
One more question. Why not just everyone?
Good question.
Can we go back to that interim action?
It may be partially because some candidates fail. Not because they submitted the wrong video, but because their performance just wasn't quite ready. In which case, they need to learn more, practice more, produce a more developed portfolio. And they don't do that usually without some support. That I hope is in the next round of recommendations that we act on very quickly. But you know, not everybody is going to pass even with a -1 SE. But if the condition code that took you out was a technicality, the idea that you have to, again, to submit the right video is just appalling to everybody in this room and everybody within earshot. That includes the commission. And, you know, we were able to get this moving sooner rather than.
I just want to follow up too. So is there an assumption that issuing these vouchers initiates a cost somewhere, that instead of the candidate repaying and they're now doing it with a voucher, is there a cost associated with that somewhere? And if so, who's that falling on? Is it the assessment sponsor? Is it the program? Is it who's
the assessment sponsor? But what I will say is so for this A2, right, that means they've submitted to the wrong area. That means the assessor opens it up and goes, this isn't a multiple subject. This is a whatever, single subject. So it's taking very little time for the assessor to then close that out, send it up. So there is cost incurred on the part of the sponsor. Hope is that it's minimal. I would think that could be one of the reasons. Kate, to go back to your question, I also think that with the work to reduce the number of condition codes, so by reducing that number plus the A2, should help a lot. Yeah.
So just one little more amplification on this. During the field test of the literacy performance assessment, actually the pilot of it last spring, I believe we suspended all condition codes. Or many of the condition codes, because we had a very compressed period of time to get this done, and they're just so what we learned is that if somebody submitted the wrong video, you could pause and say, hey, resubmit and keep it moving. And that's what we wanted to make available as a permanent structure, not just as something we do when we pilot, because that's fair. I mean, it just has prima facie fair written on it. And that we could do it was necessary. Now, in talking about, where costs are incurred, right now, all of the assessors for Ed TPA and for Cal TPA are paid to do this work. And by the time they've downloaded and uploaded and read and gotten all the way to, 2/3 of the way through one of the cycles, they have done work that they are going to be paid for. And if they find when they get there that it's the wrong video, then it's uh-oh, what happens? Who pays for this? And so I think the larger context of your recommendations and how the commission implements them with future contractor work and all of this could involve having somebody check your assessment before you submit it. Let's just make sure somebody at the campus makes sure it's the right video. That kind of pre-check. And I think Ed TPA told us about having a faculty guide that I don't know how many people are actually using that, how many faculty are actually using that as they support candidates. But the idea that your submission gets a look-see from your advisor, whoever that might be in a program, before you submit, should clear the deck of that kind of error. And then nobody's incurring costs in beginning to score something that ultimately can't be scored. And you're not failing from something that just couldn't be scored. So it's going to take a minute to get all that sorted. But for right now, we are working with our contractor to not have a penalty for candidates for that kind of technique. And they're working with us. And I have to say I'm grateful that we were able to work toward this solution while we work on the bigger sub-solutions.
All right, any other comments? All right, it is now time for public comment. If there are any members of the public that would like to make a comment, are there any public comments? Thank you. The public comment period is now closed. Right. We're on to 5A.
It's exciting. Time to get to work. 5A is our opportunity to revise and consolidate our recommendations based on feedback from our commissioners, as well as the work that we've been doing on the interim actions and previous work group meetings. Do you want to share with us our process today?
Sure. So our goal tomorrow is to develop final recommendations that are, as we discussed last meeting, focused, streamlined, and directly actionable. So guiding questions as we do this work. Do 2 or more recommendations have the same intent? Could recommendations urge without losing clarity? Is one recommendation a more detailed version of another? And so we're going to take an iterative process for this, as we've done throughout time together, where we're reviewing draft recommendations, reconciling contradictions, looking for ways to consolidate, revising as necessary. You have several resources to support you in this work. One goes all the way back to, I think this was our first meeting together. Yes, our day 1 general session. Handout or item 2A, it's like this. The statutes that shape the development and implementation of the teaching performance assessments. Mary refers to as the givens.
And just as a reminder of what's in the Ed Code, who the rights and responsibilities of all entities. Additionally, you have in your binders for today, the recommendations by focus area with scores and feedback. That's the full set. I think it's 51 recommendations that you all provided feedback on after the last meeting. Then the next document is the recommendations organized by theme without the rationale. So it's kind of just a streamlined version of the recommendations that just is helpful to see what really is being stated. And then the final document is the feasibility of the recommendations that was prepared by CTC staff. So it takes each of those recommendations and talks about what is the process or what would go into implementing that recommendation. Those are all there for you to review, folks. But our process, like preface this by saying that I was the high school teacher that my walls were covered in butcher paper and fire marshal's worst nightmare. And I'm the teacher educator that always has a big stack of Post-its and the big bag of markers to all my classes. So that's what I really wanted for today was keys on the walls, us going around with Post-it notes and markers, but we're gonna make this work for our virtual space and for Bagley Keene. So what we're gonna do is working in breakout groups, and you're gonna be able to choose your own breakout groups. You're gonna review the assigned recommendations, reconcile the contradictions, and then consolidate and revise. So again, you'll have a subset of the recommendations that you're gonna be working on, really working to consolidate and revise those. After that, we'll have a period where working on your own, you go back into that slideshow, and then you can make comments on the recommendations that we have. And we're gonna repeat that again. So then once they've been consolidated and revised, there's the opportunity for feedback. Then you'll have the chance to go to a new group with a new set of people and repeat that process again. That makes sense?
The goal being less than 51.
Absolutely.
Is there a particular number you're looking for, or just go in and do what we do?
Whatever we need to accomplish what we want to accomplish.
So the way these are grouped, you'll see that one of the groups has way more than the others, but there's a lot of alignment in those. Room 1 is changes to the exam plus CTC supports for programs. They're color coded on there because that's just the colors that the slides are in the slide deck. So room 2 will be, there's additional funding plus scoring plus feedback to candidates plus local scoring. All the recommendations that kind of fell in those areas. Room 3 is program practices plus updates to standard 5. A lot of what's in those program practices align with those updates to standard 5. And then room 4 is updates to standard 3 plus CTC supports and actions. So what you're able to do then is select your breakout room, ensure there's at least 2 people in each. And the plan is to give you about an hour to work to consolidate. Yeah, I know, I'm aspirational always in my timing.
I am. And we don't remember which standard is standard 3 and which is standard 5.
Standard 5 is the one that has to do with support for the TPA, implementation of the TPA. And standard 3, what is standard 3? I should have that one on the top of my mind too. Yeah, and I know, and I didn't get this document into my, that one. It's the accreditation.
That's what I'm thinking. I think that standard 3 relates to the
Induction.
Induction, that's what I thought. Induction. Oh, it's induction standard 3.
That's good to
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right here.
So where's the language on the accreditation standard that we wanted to modify? Is that room 3 or room?
That's program standard 5. So, well, yeah,
Both are.
both are related to accreditation. Because when accreditation, you're reviewing how well the program aligns with those program standards.
I was just asking too.
Yeah. Colin.
So we're not abandoning, that's the wrong word. We're not using the focus areas.
We're moving away from the focus.
We're moving away from the focus areas, and when we're in a particular group looking at that, we will look at the focus areas that we think relate to that.
But you don't have to. Sorry.
I think you grouped by similar content.
I did.
And then within the similar
Yeah.
content, I think she broke it down into smaller categories.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, we can map that back to the focus areas, but just so you could see where there was overlap, where there was,
You've put them
contradiction.
together, the recommendations that we made in focus areas, you have now put in a document in here. Okay, I understand. Sorry.
So, yeah, no.
Yeah, let me provide just a little bit more clarity. So it's handout 5A-1. And so what we asked them to do is just take out all of the reasoning and leave it just with recommendation, take out all of the headings, and then resort it, because there were some things in focus area 1 that were the same as the recommendations in focus area 2. So that's our goal today, is to find where those similarities were, reconcile that, because actually there are some contradictions too. And then figure out where we stand. And then the idea being, after we have narrowed down those 51 into how many ever we need to accomplish the goal, then we'll go back and we can add headings back and we can add reasoning back. But right now, let's just get to the heart of what exactly are we saying we need to do. Does that make sense?
I was gonna say I appreciated the fact that when I saw this, I understood like, cool, we're not gonna have different groups working on the same exact standard where all of a sudden it should reduce redundancy, I would think. But so one of the other things that occurs to me, and I don't know if it matters, I think some of the recommendations when we first started making them might have been made like in parallel, like these two things need to go together. So I'm wondering if maybe one other lens we should look at is, are there things that actually need to be grouped together? Because otherwise, if one went and one didn't, it might have unintended consequences.
So could I just clarify? So the first part of this is for small groups that select which one of these they want to work on, or just on the recommendations in their particular group. Then the next thing is for everybody to individually look at the outcomes for all of these and to add their notes to it. Right, okay, so we're going from small groups focusing on some to each person focusing on all. And that's what the next 90 minutes is about, roughly.
Yes, roughly. Yes.
Okay.
I went from 60 to 90, but that's okay. Well, no, because it's no. It's 60 in your group and then 30 on your own.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it grows.
Well, Tori has her hand.
Yes, Tori is.
Tori, go ahead.
Hi, I just wanted to see if others had seen the public comments that are available for this meeting as well, because I think those could be informative to our work today.
Yes, we have in front of us here.
They're more than the University of California and the California Teachers Association. So those are the two that you have at your.
We had them setting on top of each person's binder. Thanks, Tori.
All right, time is of the essence, shall we?
Right, so we'll just take about an hour. So room 151 breakout is changes to the exam and plus CTC supports for programs.
And you've all found the document that has these categories on it, right? It is handout 2 for RDI TPA 5A. And it's just the draft recommendations where why this is needed, what the rationale theory of action, all that's been removed and put them out. Sorry, I'm gonna stop looking.
That's okay. And also another piece is that As soon as everyone starts to disperse, I will email you all the link to the slideshow. One thing, right now you have the not full editing access, just so we can track changes to kind of keep track of what's being done. So 2, additional funding. And so these are just the categories that all got lumped together. Additional funding plus scoring plus feedback to candidates plus local scoring. And then we're in 3, 153, program practices plus updates to standard 5. Then 158, updates to standard 3 plus CTC supports and action. Again, in the slideshow, the slides that your group is working on are color coded to align with what's up. And also a reminder of the feasibility document. That might be helpful for you as well. We're throwing so much at everyone.
That's what I'm thinking.
All right, so let's take 5, we need about 5 or 10 minutes, 10 minutes. They're gonna help set up our breakout rooms. So we're gonna take a 10-minute break and then we'll get started. Again, self-selection. And if the wind moves you in the middle of the work and you want to move to another group, please do that. Make sure you're present where you'd like to be.
I'll open the breakout rooms now.
Perfect.
We've been in almost every group.
I was literally gonna wait until the rooms got full and just go to web. That's where I was at.
Like, Ben, you and I have been in every single group. I was gonna follow you.
I was just gonna chill.
Okay. Now. Okay. All right. That one. Yeah. Here we go.
Oh.
Now the idea is that work on your own. We'll go through the recommendations, read through what's there, and add comments or feedback. So we'll have about half an hour for this. You don't have to comment on every slide and comment on every slide.
Everyone back.
Yay.
About 4 more minutes to get in those final comments. And then there'll be like a 5-minute break while I make a copy of the slideshow, make some revisions, and then we'll go back into breakout rooms. Take about 1 more minute to get your final thoughts down. Ask creator, please wrap up. So, about 5 minutes. I'm going to ask you to go to a new breakout room with different people, asking you to mix up. I made a change based on what I was seeing in the slideshow, pulling out that local scoring piece and putting that into its own room. So that will be in here in 158. Otherwise, keeping them the same. I'm going to clean up the slideshow a little bit and send you all a new link. We'll take about half an hour, 40 minutes to see how far you can get. Aspirational, but I like to think in those terms. Everybody clear what's happening? We go to work. Take a break. Another one.
Okay, this one.
No, I'm getting hired.
Yeah, that's exactly what
That topic.
exactly.
Okay, everybody else over here.
All right.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Hopefully you found today's opportunity to be productive and meaningful. We were just discussing how exciting it is to see things starting to come together, but at the same time being nervous about what's being pulled out. And so just needing some time to kind of digest that tonight. We had another idea originally about homework, but after kind of talking to each other up here, what we'd like to invite you to do after you relax and enjoy some other company, if you could just open this document back up and just look at those sections, especially that you didn't touch today, and just see what's happening and where the movement is. And don't be afraid to look down deeper at the ones that have been struck through too, right? And so you can kind of identify and follow along with what people are thinking. Will the comment ability still be open?
Yeah, so I've just
Great.
changed the updates. You can no longer edit. Change the access, sorry. I've changed the access. You can no longer edit, but you can now comment.
Perfect. So feel free in all your copious amounts of time tonight, if you're inspired to do so, to continue to add comments like we did earlier today, and just to kind of have a placeholder for your thoughts. Anything else on this?
And
Yeah. You're an expert at it. You want to do it?
No, go ahead.
All right, is there any public comment on 5A?
The comment item.
With no public comment on 5A, we will move to closing remarks.
Yeah. Sorry, I got on a plane really early this morning, so I'm a little slow, but it's this has been a very good conversation, and thank you to the team back there for letting me be provocateur and ask questions.
Great to see you all. I'm just consistently blown away, and I love hearing that there are people watching, and they're also impressed by what they're seeing here. I was on a meeting earlier today where your praises were being sung by people that are people that are concerned about this work. So thank you. It's just great to see you all.
Thank you. Julia.
thank you all. Have a good night. And just a reminder, we are going to kind of go through this iterative process one more time in the morning. So any comments that you make tonight on the slides, up tomorrow.
Then we'll start adding back
Yes.
the why,
Yes.
right? So once we come up with the final list,
Mhm.
we'll come back to adding.
So yeah, the rationale and the theory of action.
Right. With that, we recess day one of the work group meeting. We will reconvene at 8:30 tomorrow morning. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thank you.